Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. Welcome to Randomness, where we talk about a little bit of everything, the deep, the weird, and the real. So take a breath, open your mind, and let's get into it. Today, we are talking about manipulation, how to spot it, why it works, and how to protect yourself from it. Manipulation is insidious because it's designed to be invisible. The best manipulators make you feel like everything is your idea, your fault, your problem. They leave you confused, doubting yourself, wondering if you're being too sensitive or imagining things. You're not. And today, we are going to break down exactly how manipulation works so you can see it clearly and stop letting people play games with your mind. So let's start with a clear definition. Manipulation is the use of indirect, deceptive, or underhanded tactics to influence someone's behavior, emotions, or decisions for the manipulator's benefit. The key distinction: manipulation involves dishonesty and exploitation. It's not the same as healthy influence or persuasion. When someone shares information and lets you make your own decision, that is influence. When someone uses guilt, fear, confusion, or deception to get what they want, that's manipulation. Manipulators prioritize their agenda over your well-being. They are willing to harm you emotionally to get what they want. And they're skilled at making it look like something else. So let's break down the most common tactics so you know what to look for. Gaslighting. This is making you question your perception of reality. The manipulator denies things they said or did, tells you you are remembering wrong, or insists you're being too sensitive or crazy. They'll be like, I never said that. Or you're overreacting. That's not how it happened. You're too emotional to think clear. And over time, you stop trusting yourself and you start relying on their version of reality, which gives them complete control. Then there's love bombing. And this is overwhelming you with affection, attention, and just grand gestures early in a relationship to create quick attachment and dependency. And yeah, it's going to feel amazing at first. Finally, someone who sees how special you are. But it's a tactic to create obligation and make you invested before showing their true colors. And once you're hooked, the manipulation starts. And when you try to leave, they love bomb the hell out of you, again, to reel you back in. Guilt tripping. This is making you feel guilty for having needs, boundaries, or just doing anything that doesn't serve the manipulator. They're going to throw out stuff like, after everything I've done for you, or I guess I'll just suffer alone, or you're so selfish. If you really loved me, you would blah, blah, blah. So they weaponize your empathy and make you responsible for their feelings so you will comply to avoid feeling guilty. And no matter what the manipulator does, they somehow end up being the victim. They twist every situation to make you the bad guy and themselves the wounded party. This deflects accountability and it makes you feel like you need to apologize or fix things, even when they are the one who caused harm. Then there's something called triangulation, and this is bringing a third party into the dynamic to create jealousy, competition, or insecurity. And they're going to be like, well, so-and-so would never treat me this way. Everyone agrees with me that you're being unreasonable. Or I was talking to so-and-so and they said blah, blah, blah. And it makes you feel like you need to compete for their approval. And it kind of keeps you off balance. And how about the good old silent treatment? This is withdrawing communication and affection as punishment. It is emotional abandonment designed to make you so uncomfortable that you will do whatever it takes to get them to engage with you again. It's not the same as taking space to cool down. It is a power move designed to control through withholding. Then there's something called moving the goalpost. No matter what you do, it's never enough. They keep changing the requirements or standards, so you are always falling short and always trying to please them. You achieve what they asked for, and suddenly, that wasn't actually what they wanted. You are perpetually chasing an impossible standard. And then there's something called DARVO, and this stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So when confronted, the manipulator denies doing anything wrong, attacks you for bringing it up, flips the script to make themselves the victim and you the aggressor. And they'll be saying something like, I can't believe you're accusing me of this. You are the one who always da-da-da-da-da. Now you're defending yourself instead of addressing the original issue. And manipulation is all about lying and distortion. So they lie about facts, about what they said, about their intentions. They distort truth enough that you can't trust your own memory or perception. They might mix lies with truth, so you don't know what to believe. Or they will admit to a small thing to hide a bigger thing. It's all designed to keep you confused and gradually separating you from friends, family, and support systems, so you become dependent on them and have no outside perspective. They criticize your loved ones, create conflicts, or make it difficult for you to maintain relationships, and eventually, they are your only source of connection, which gives them complete control. And then we have intermittent reinforcement, and this is unpredictability, alternating between kindness and cruelty, affection and coldness. So sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're terrible. You never know which version you're getting. And this creates an addictive pattern where you're always trying to get back to the good version, which keeps you trapped and constantly trying to please them. So why does manipulation work? Well, it's effective because it exploits normal human psychology. So it targets your empathy. Empathetic people are prime targets because they naturally consider others' feelings and they want to help. And manipulators exploit this by making you responsible for their emotions. Your empathy becomes your vulnerability because you will sacrifice your own needs to avoid hurting them. And it creates confusion when someone consistently distorts reality. You become confused about what is true. Confusion makes you easier to control because you start relying on the manipulator to tell you what's real. You lose trust in yourself and become dependent on their version of events. In manipulation, it doesn't start with obvious abuse. It starts small, little boundary violations, small lies, minor guilt trips, and by the time the behavior escalates, you're already invested and normalized to accepting treatment that you wouldn't have tolerated initially. Manipulators identify what you need, like love, validation, security, belonging, and use it against you. They provide it intermittently to keep you chasing it, and you stay because you keep hoping to get the good version, to finally earn their consistent love, to fix whatever's making them treat you badly. The most effective manipulation makes you doubt your own judgment. Am I being too sensitive? Am I remembering this wrong? Maybe they're right and I am the problem. When you stop trusting yourself, you give the manipulator power over your reality. And anyone can be manipulated, but certain traits make you more vulnerable. such as higher empathy. You naturally consider others' feelings and want to help, which manipulators exploit. People-pleasing tendencies. You're uncomfortable with conflicts and will accommodate to keep the peace. Low self-esteem. You don't trust your own judgment and are more likely to defer to others. Trauma history. Past experiences with manipulation normalize it, making it harder to recognize. Isolation. Without outside perspectives, you are more susceptible to the manipulator's version of reality, or just being in a vulnerable state. Grief, transition, loneliness, or stress make you more receptive to someone offering support, even if their motives aren't genuine. And none of these traits are weaknesses. They're often strengths that manipulators pervert for their own purposes. So how to recognize you're being manipulated? First of all, trust your gut, but there are specific signs. You are constantly feeling confused. You're never quite sure what's true or what actually happened. You're always apologizing, even when you didn't do anything wrong. You're the one saying sorry. You feel crazy. You question your memory, your perception, your sanity. You walk on eggshells. You're constantly monitoring your behavior to avoid upsetting them. You feel isolated. Your needs don't matter. Everything's about their needs and their feelings. You feel drained. You make excuses for them. You can't have a straightforward conversation because every discussion gets derailed, turned around, or becomes about something else. You feel like you're losing yourself. You don't recognize who you've become in this relationship. And once you recognize manipulation, let's talk about how to respond. So if something feels off, it probably is. So stop trying to rationalize away your discomfort. Your instincts are protective. Listen to them. You don't need proof to trust your gut. You don't need to convince anyone else. If it feels wrong, that is enough. And when you can identify what's happening, it loses some power. That's gaslighting. You're guilt-tripping me. Naming it helps you see it clearly instead of being confused by it. And don't jade. And jade stands for justify, argue, defend, explain. When dealing with a manipulator, do not do any of these things. You do not owe them explanations for your boundaries. You don't need to convince them you're right. State your boundary and hold it, regardless of their response. I'm not comfortable with that. That doesn't work for me. I need to leave. Full stop. No justification required. And manipulators rely on distorting facts. So keep records, save text, emails, write down conversations with dates and details. This is not paranoia. It's protecting yourself from gaslighting. So when they say, I never said that, you have proof of what actually happened. And get outside perspective. Manipulators isolate you because outside perspectives threaten their control. So talk to a friend, family member, or therapist. Tell them what's happening. See if they notice red flags. You need reality checks from people who aren't invested in manipulating you. You need to clearly state what behavior you will and won't tolerate, and then follow through with consequences when boundaries are violated. And manipulators will definitely test your boundaries. If you enforce them inconsistently, they learn they can wear you down. So be firm and do not try to change them. You cannot love, explain, or reason a manipulator into changing. They know what they're doing. They are choosing it. So stop trying to make them see your perspective or treating you better. Accept that this is who they are and decide accordingly. Sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to remove yourself from the situation. So limit contact. If you must maintain some relationship, or end it completely if possible. You do not need closure from them. You don't need a final conversation where They understand you just need to leave. Manipulation, it damages your ability to trust yourself. So intentionally rebuild it. Start noticing your feelings and honoring them. Make small decisions and trust your choices. Practice believing your own perception. It takes time, but you can learn to trust yourself again. Sometimes you can't immediately leave when you're in a situation. Maybe it's a coworker, a family member, or you're financially dependent on someone. So here's some things you can try, such as the gray rock method. Be as boring and unresponsive as possible. Give minimal information. Show no emotion. Just provide nothing for them to manipulate. Information diet. Share nothing personal. Don't give them ammunition. And plan your exit. Even if you can't leave now, start planning, save money, build support, research resources, and work toward freedom. And protect your mental health. Therapy, support groups, journaling, do what you need to process and stay grounded in reality. And remember, it's not forever. You will not always be stuck. Keep reminding yourself this is temporary. And if you've been in a manipulative relationship, the effects don't disappear when the relationship ends, unfortunately. You might struggle with self-trust, have PTSD symptoms, feel hypervigilant in new relationships, or just have difficulty setting boundaries. So be patient with yourself because healing takes time. You're not broken. You survived and you can heal. Manipulation thrives in silence and confusion, and the more you understand it, the less power it has. You're not being paranoid for noticing these patterns. You're not being dramatic for naming them. You're not being mean for protecting yourself. You deserve relationships where you feel safe, seen, and respected, where reality is shared, not dictated, where your needs matter as much as theirs. Trust yourself, set boundaries, and don't let anyone convince you that protecting yourself is wrong. All right, guys, that is it for this episode of Randomness. If you recognize these patterns in your life, know that you are not alone and you can get out. And until next time, protect your energy, honor your worth, trust yourself, and remember you deserve relationships that don't require you to doubt your reality or sacrifice your boundaries. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow. And remember, keep your energy grounded, your mind open, and your curiosity alive.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.